Welcome, everybody. Surprise host Brittany again this week. So you know what that means. A lot of horrible puns.
Yeah, I
As
think you mean
always-
amazing puns.
Oh, yeah. They are quality.
Brittany, bitch.
I love it. So, as always, big thanks to Sam Dillard and Sammo Studios for the awesome intro and outro music that we got. So,
It's awesome.
last episode, we focused on Captain Pike. This week, we're basically going to go over all the essentials of Mr. Spock and talk about the people who've played him and everything that's awesome from all the way back to the original series, TNG, films, and up to Star Trek Discovery. So we'll talk who our favorite version is, the effect Leonard Nimoy had on all of us, and Hawk was also right last week saying that this could possibly be our most polarizing episode yet. Our mailbag is really full this week.
Really full.
Like, we'd need another crew on hand to go through this one.
We'll get those fools from lower decks to help us.
Yeah.
You didn't even put the Facebook stuff on here. So
It's true.
much.
There's so much.
So many.
I had to compartmentalize and be a good Starfleet officer.
That's fair.
Yeah. There was so much we had to divert power from life support just to store all of it. So, just kidding. We're fine.
It's
Engineering, they'll be fine. We'll take their air away. They survive with less, right?
All they
So-
need is some dilithium crystals to smoke. They're fine.
Dude, they survive. I don't know how. Like, so many of them die almost every episode of a Star Trek show, and they just keep going.
That's what engineers do.
That's true.
Indeed.
They engineer a way to survive. So Spock is certainly an icon of Trek and pop culture. Even if you don't watch Star Trek, like, everybody knows Vulcan salute, like, they know Spock. And Leonard Nimoy. So we're going to have a lot to unpack in this episode. Kind of like when Julian mentioned that he would call Laurel mother. And we still haven't talked about that.
God,
Well, because I just saw, I was like,
Damn.
unpack.
If there's
Yeah.
any chance that I can Photoshop a picture of him and Laurel together, that is the moment that I'm gonna.
I just got called out.
Dude, but she did like your tweet, though.
She did. She
So
did. And
she called out your love.
she did. And Mary, if you're listening, we would love to have you on the show sometime soon when we talk about who the Enterprise might encounter in Strange New Worlds. So the invitation is out there. We would love to have you.
She's awesome. So before we get into things a little bit, I want to mention to our listeners/viewers, I guess if you're watching this on YouTube, that we're going to have a little keyword at some point in our episode, probably the end, but I won't promise anything. And if you email that to us at astrangenewpod@gmail.com, you could win this little mini Funko Spock figure, if the lighting does something right.
That's
It's
a
kinda-
Spock from Amok Time.
Yeah, I'm trying to get it. That's close enough. But anyway, he's really cute. I'll post pictures later so you can actually see him. He's a little blurry. But literally from one of our essential episodes we'll talk about. And this Star Trek comic, it has Spock on it. He's looking fun. It's really dramatic. And it's, the original series.
He's kind of looking like he's having a hard time pooping.
A little bit.
Oh no!
But anyway.
You've disappeared.
You just disappeared. You transported away.
So, yeah. Maybe you're listening in the morning. If you are, we hope that you're grabbing yourself some coffee and it's not replicated. Speaking of coffee, let's hear a word from our favorite coffee people. Tired of fresh coffee that loses its kick and tastes the same as every other brand? Unlike coffee that sits on a store shelf weeks after it's roasted, Logical Coffee is made to order and starts with fresh green coffee beans. This Star Trek-themed coffee is roasted to perfection in small batches and sealed away in one-way valve bags as soon as it cools. Your coffee will arrive on your doorstep with the roast date right on the bag, so you know it's the freshest coffee in the Alpha Quadrant. A cup of warp drive? Make it so. Ah, it's out of this world. Don't settle for the same replicated coffee. Make the logical choice and order Logical Coffee. Use the code ASTRANGENEWPOD to get 20% off your first order. Live long and drink coffee.
Now I want coffee. At
Yeah,
9:15 p.m.
I know.
I've legitimately become a coffee drinker again because of Logical Coffee. Like, I wasn't drinking coffee until then.
Karen
I
just
can't
was
go
like,
back.
I'm so sad I'm out of my warp drive. I'm like, why didn't you tell me? I'll put it in order. I'm out of my 4 lights. So, you
Wow.
know.
There
Four
are
lights,
no
5
lights.
lights.
No lights.
Yeah.
Speaking of lights, I had to turn mine down because it got real hype for a minute there. I'm like, why am I so? I'm like,
You're
whitewashing myself.
glowing.
Ah. It's after I transported, something happened. It's a transporter malfunction, our favorite sort of malfunction.
Oh, we don't want a transporter malfunction. Do we want Brittany in a gelatinous form? I don't think so.
Oh my god, I kind of want to throw you guys for a loop with what I just thought of, but I had another one.
Oh, why not?
You got to go with your original thought.
Okay, we'll stick with the original because the other one I'll do another time. So, original thought. If you, like Spock, found yourself in a fight with somebody else to the death for a betrothed person, or for your betrothal, I don't know what I'm saying, what weapon from Star Trek would you use? So let's say you don't have to actually use like I think it's called the Lyra or something, what he's using. If you didn't have to use that, that could be an option. You can do that. I will give you as much time as you need. You can even Google Star Trek weapons if you need to.
Why?
No
Why
need.
would you? It's Batleth right there.
I was going to say Batleth.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to choose the Batleth.
It's
I'm
so
going to be the
cool.
only one who doesn't say Batleth.
I said weapon, not a hand, just a hand weapon. Any weapon.
I still would go with Batleth. To be honest, I love that weapon. It's just the coolest
Dude,
one.
me too. That's what I thought of immediately also.
So any weapon from Star Trek lore? Like
Any weapon from any Star Trek lore. I'm talking like you could be using red matter from one of the movies. If
Oh,
you
God.
wanted.
Although, to be fair, I would also go with Sulu's sword from 2009 Star Trek. That
one's
armor
awesome.
one.
The-
Yes.
Yeah.
okay, I'll change my answer. I will go with the Doomsday Machine.
Well,
Big
that just
Oh
giant-
shit. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
that seems
It's a bit
inappropriate.
overkill, but
But
We
you would
see you,
probably
Hawk.
win, to be fair.
Oh my god. Terrifying.
All right. So I am going to also go with a Klingon weapon, but it is not a Batleth. It is I hope I get the pronunciation right, but it's what Worf uses in Star Trek First Contact. It is called a mechlech, and it's this. If you could see it, there we go. That one. And it's got like the handle, and it's also got like the little guard, so you can use it as a guard if you're in a knife fight. It's a pretty badass weapon. I think a Batleth doesn't go to my fighting style. I'm trying to keep a
You want the
straight face.
sword way.
Say that.
Not the
Yeah, I need
way.
a sword weight, not a heavy Batleth.
He's been playing so much Ghost of Tsushima. He's like, what's a sword like implement from Star Trek?
You're not wrong. I can't just say like katana because that's not really in Star Trek lore.
Although
oh,
Sulu,
Star Trek is
Sulu.
angular.
I mean, I could say like just like a fencing rapier, but
old Sulu.
But
old
our-
Sulu.
Our
Or Picard.
homeboy ninja lad from Picard uses that.
Oh yeah, he does. Oh, he does
Yeah,
use a katana
see?
pretty much.
He's basically Ghost of Tsushima in space. So
Yeah.
I'm still gonna stick by my Klingon knife, the mechlech.
Yeah. It is a good. It does. I forgot.
But
about
here's
that
the question
sword.
for you two: would you guys use just a straight up Batleth, or would you use the Sword of Kalis?
See, I switched over to Sulu's 2009 sword.
Oh, you did. Okay,
Yeah,
all
his
right.
Transformer sword is where it's at.
originally I would have chose Batleth as well, but since we all went that route, I want to use the giant freaking destructive beam that Nero uses to destroy Vulcan in the Star Trek 09 movie. Just like
I want to marry you. Have a black hole.
Isn't that just a mining laser?
yeah, it's like a mining laser.
I'm gonna choose a mining laser.
Dude, I said any weapon, so
Do you know what
with
I would
the red
use as
matter.
what I would use as a backup if I didn't have a mechlech handy? Those little purple balls that Harry Mudd was using in the time loop episode of Discovery
Oh, yeah.
that make you
shit was
like
annoying.
implode from the inside. And he's like, I've killed you 1,000 different ways, Lorca. I wonder what this does.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's a
but
good
that-
one. Dang, I didn't even think about that one. I'll extend the question just to our listeners and viewers. Like, let us know what weapon you'd use. Maybe we'll make a post about that and show a picture of a batleth, and maybe you won't pick that. but you probably will.
2020, where we're talking about what weapons we'd use to kill people trying to take our wives.
Hey, last episode we talked about who we'd wife. Now we're saying whose life would you take?
I'm pretty sure it was partner because I chose a man.
Yeah, you're right. I chose
that
a woman.
man could be your wife. That's
I would be his wife. Let's be honest.
That's true.
I love it. Oh God. So speaking of the needs of the many outweighing the needs of the few,
or the one.
Or the one.
Great segue.
Yeah, thanks. I'm pretty good at that. We're gonna lean into the essential Mr. Spock. So he may have battled some people with some cool weapons, but for once, we're going to save the best for last. We're not going to talk about the original series Spock first, like we would chronologically. We're going to do that weird Star Trek thing where they mess with time. So we're going to talk about our newest iteration of Spock. Some of you guys know him from Discovery, and he's going to be, in the new series. But right now, he's a lieutenant. And he's a different character than the Spock we know from the original series and the films. But he is still, in fact, that same prime Spock that was originally portrayed by Nimoy. So, how do we think that Peck approached this character, and are we ready for him to carry the Spock torch into strange new worlds?
Yes, 100%. I love this man. I love the fact that, like, when we meet him in Discovery, one, he's nuts. He's lost his marbles. And two, he's just a bit more human than Vulcan, because he hasn't fully embraced the Spock that we'll eventually see all the way in the Next Generation, where he's basically like fully embraced logic. He smiles. He kind of makes some sarcastic quips like, I like science. Like, I love that line. But he's such a good actor. And does he look exactly like Leonard Nimoy? No, but I think he embodies how Nimoy portrayed the character. And I think he's fantastic. Especially, I just rewatched it twice last night, the Q&A short trek, which is just, and he's not even a lieutenant there. That's his first day on the Enterprise. He's an ensign. And he's
Ensign Spock.
Yeah, little Ensign Spock reporting for duty. Number one's like, bitch, don't yell.
Little Ensign Spock.
Yeah.
That could be a little kid show.
Right.
So whatever Nickelodeon's doing, little Ensign Spock.
But yeah, I'm so ready to see him take on, Strange New Worlds. I can't wait for the show to come and see him, not necessarily like carry on the legacy of Spock, but kind of create the legacy of Spock that we're going to get, because, this is what leads up to Nimoy. So I just think he's fantastic.
Star Trek, the search for a new Spock. That's what we got. And now we have him. But at first we meet him, he was out of his Vulcan mind.
Yes.
I just love the fact that he's Gregory Peck's grandson.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
That's really cool. Yeah.
Yeah, he's got the voice in that. Going back to Q&A and that, he is such a different Spock. We know he's an ensign. He smiles upon being aboard the Enterprise for the very first time, and then he really smiles in that his little interaction with Rebecca Romaine and that. And I keep going back to that Journey of Babel episode. That the Spock that we meet there when he's talking with his mother, and his mother asks about why don't you smile. And he says, humans smile with such little provocation. So what the hell happened between him as an ensign and him as a commander? That's the journey I want to see Ethan Peck take on.
Yeah.
I think I'm really interested in seeing how he plays off of James Frain, who plays his father, Sarek, right? Because we don't know if their relationship is strained at this point, because we know it's strained in the original series, but maybe events happen in a Strange New World or Strange New Worlds where that happens. And maybe that's why he moves towards the more logical Vulcan side of his personality.
Dude, I love that part when he's just like, hey, Dad. And his dad's just like, anyway, Bones. Like, he's like, oh, shit. And Bones is just like, can't even remember how to do it. He's like, oh, it's such a great scene.
So in Journey to Babel, their relationship is at that point where they're basically not speaking. And I have a feeling that we'll find out, in Strange New Worlds, what Sarek or what Spock did to kind of, put that strain there. Because, listen, that strain is going to have ramifications from what we see in the original series into the films. And then, spoilers if you've never seen TNG, and I know we're going to be talking about that episode a little bit, but in Unifications Part 1 and 2, when Sarek eventually dies, and it's kind of like a bittersweet thing for Spock because they were not on speaking terms at that point either. They never had a good relationship. And I want to see what happens, and I think we'll see it in Strange New Worlds.
I can't remember what happened in Discovery, but does Sarek know that Michael gets shot into the future?
Yes, because they hug at the end. They hug. Like Amanda and Sarek actually come to Discovery to say goodbye.
Oh yeah.
And they even say like that they're not going to tell anybody either. Like that whole thing where everybody's pretending nothing happened. We don't know what happened. But I know that their strain probably isn't from him growing a beard because he shaves it by the end, I will say I definitely love, it's Ethan Peck, right?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. Ethan Peck, for the fact that not only do we meet him as Spock just in a really interesting storyline, but he was introduced as bearded Spock. Like, it's just fantastic. And just, do you really think the beard's working?
Oh, Michael and that quip.
Yeah.
It's so good.
I love their dynamic and their relationship.
The beard was working, Michael. Damn it.
Exactly. How dare you? You took that from us.
God, that passive aggressiveness when they're in Michael's quarters and Michael wants to play chess.
Yeah, that one's good.
Oh, he's just like, yes, Michael, let's play chess. He's
I
just
love
such
that
a
part.
dick.
It
I love
feels
it.
so real.
Yes.
So like a brother sister totally.
Yeah, that's
that.
one of the more realistic sibling relationships I've seen done on TV. Because you know how when people don't grow up having a sibling or something and they write about it, they're like, what's up, sis? Hey, bro, you want to do this? When really, if you have a sibling, you're just like, what's up? Hey, you want to do this? Or you call each other something really horrible. But yeah, I really like that. I hope it's going to go somewhere really awesome in Strange New Worlds. And I have a feeling that they're going to focus on how, since he is still Prime Spock, how he's going to eventually meet the same points where he'll be for Nimoy. Even if the show only lasts so long and then they leave it off at a certain point that maybe is before Nimoy Spock would have been, introduced timeline wise.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think they'll make it connect in a cool way, or at least give nods.
I also hope, and I think we've mentioned this on other episodes of the show so far, but I really hope that they show Spock's struggle, even though they're not supposed to really talk about it, but show his struggle with Michael being gone, and the fact that he basically for the rest of his life has to lie about ever having a sister, to Starfleet, to family, to the universe. Michael
Kirk.
Burnham basically, to Kirk, who he's
already lied to so many times about relations.
So many times. Basically Michael Burnham never existed. And that's going to be rough on him. And I think that the show is going to need to explore that.
Yeah. And it also works because people are like, oh, in the original series, he never mentions having a sister. But you're like, aha, because he can't tell you because shit was fucky.
Yeah.
And also, even when his parents show up on the ship, he's like, by the way, those are my parents. And Kirk is like, what?
Well, that's Spock, right?
Credits.
That's Spock, right? It's like, why didn't you tell me? Because it wasn't pertinent until now, and now it is, so now I'm telling you.
You have a wife?
It's such Vulcan bullshit.
Oh my god. And even the fact that she was like, I choose you, and you're going to have to fight him. And he's just like, I have to what? I was just supposed to witness as your friend.
Speaking of the Q&A short trek real quick, I just want to talk about Michael Chabon, who's the head writer for Picard, is the one who wrote the Q&A short trek, and part of the reason he had Spock smile in the turbo lift when after singing Gilbert and Sullivan with number one is it was a throwback to all those subtle times that Spock smiled in TOS. So after he kills Jim and then he's back on the Enterprise, we have to go back to Starbase so I can get a court martial. And Jim's like, well, don't you want to check with me first? And he's like, Jim! And he's got that big ass smile on his face. Yeah. And Chabon was like, I want to kind of pay homage to that. I thought that was a cool little moment.
Yeah. So going from Peck to the next most recent Spock, we had Zachary Quinto, in the Kelvin timeline, aka the JJ verse or the Abrams verse. And a lot of people pointed out his likeness to Leonard Nimoy, but people have for both of the actors, of course. But his in particular, since that was the first Spock we'd seen since Nimoy, a lot of people right away were like, wow, it's uncanny. He looks, he's pulling off the role really well. But he also brought a more raw and emotional role or take to the character. And a lot of people would say that he didn't really come into his own as Spock until the third movie in the franchise. So what do we all think about his take? I know we talked about it a little bit last episode. And as well as his relationship with Uhura and the fact that he was a little more human than Vulcan in his version.
I feel like he had the mannerisms of Leonard Nimoy down pat. Like he tilt his head just the right way and do the little eyebrow thing just the proper way that Nimoy could. But I think the great thing about him is that when you first see him in Star Trek, he's a little kid and his emotions take control of him. It's a whole theme in the first movie. It's like whether his emotions, if his human side is more than his Vulcan side. But when he's trying to suppress his human side in the first half of that movie, it totally feels like, I feel like a little
off?
bit of it feels off, but it feels really close to the original series. Once he moves towards his more human side, he fully feels like the role, at least for me.
The human side of him is in the movie is connected to his mother, and that it seems to be like the source of it, and it's also the point where the character diverged from the original in that, because with the death of his mother, and that it seemed like that human side couldn't be kind of tamped down anymore.
Yeah, and that kind of connects to like Journey to Babel. Is it Babel or Babel?
It's
I always say
Babel.
Babel.
It's Babel.
Yeah. It's supposed to be Babel.
They say Babel on the show, so I say Babel.
It's Babel
Weird,
on the
yeah.
show,
Babel.
so that's what we're doing.
Babel is 3 B's.
Yeah.
Okay.
What?
Babylon 5. Anyway, that's another sci-fi show. Shit. Oh, his mother mentions in that one, when they are discussing, his human side versus Vulcan side, she says that line that's like, I don't know if I'm going to say this verbatim, but, is there any part of you or any part of me in there, like inside of you? And I feel like that whole struggle between, having been half Vulcan and half human, in any iteration of Spock, there's always that like pull between, obviously suppressing emotions and being Vulcan, but also wanting to honor his mother and his relationship. He always has like an interesting relationship with his mom in every version, and kind of a more distant but respectful relationship with his father. So I think Zachary Quinto, I really liked his relationship with his mom, and R.I.P. Winona.
Yeah.
She's alive in real life, but not in there.
Bruce Greenwood and Winona both got hard done by in the JJ timeline.
She showed up for like 5 seconds and then she's gone. I remember being in the theater and I just went, oh, Winona. She just blows up. And I was like,
she didn't blow up, she fell.
Well, true, but like the planet blows up.
And then she blew up.
Yeah. Like she falls in like a really tragic way.
Even though she had a short role in that movie, she had one of my favorite scenes in it is when her and Spock are talking, and she, like, she's tidying him up, and they sort of hold hands, and it's just this.
Like,
it felt so real and such a mother-son thing, and it just made me tear up a little bit because, especially after you rewatch and you know what's gonna happen. It's a tender moment you don't usually get on Star Trek.
She was more believably old in that version. Like they made her up to look a little older, like enough to be his mom. Unlike in like Edward Scissorhands, where they just have her go full old lady, and she's just like, "Oh, it was a long time ago.
It's been 84 years."
Terrible old lady voice.
For me, there's 3 or 4 moments in the original 2009 film that really make me be like, okay, like this is Spock. Yeah, he's playing it a little differently, but he's Spock. And the first moment is right after he's ejected Kirk onto whatever the planet is with a giant red lobster.
Hoth?
Yeah.
Hoth.
Hoth 2.0.
And Bones is like, permission to speak freely, and Spock's like, I welcome it. And Bones is like, are you out of your Vulcan mind? And Spock's like, if you would rather me walk the halls weeping, I will do so. And I was like, oh, that line is so Spock.
That is so true.
And then when Kirk is still on the ship and they're like having their confab of whether to rescue Pike or go to the Laurentian system and rendezvous the fleet, Spock is talking about how time travel has, reshaped their destinies, and recites a line from both Sherlock Holmes and recited first by Leonard Nimoy's Spock in Star Trek VI: The Undiscovered Country, which is, when you've eliminated the impossible, whatever remains, however improbable, must be the truth. Mm-hmm. That is both from Star Trek VI when they're doing the investigation on like who killed Vulcan, and then obviously about Nero coming back and changing their lives. And I was like, redoing that line was perfect because like that's an homage to like I think hardcore fans, I would say, who just like love Star Trek VI and love that line. So and then finally when Kirk is back and he's taking command and Spock's like, I'll come back and help you. And Kirk's like, I'm going to come with you. And Spock's like, I would cite regulation, but I know you will simply ignore it. I'm like, you son of a bitch.
Yes,
you're so Spock. And I was like, yes, Zachary Quinto is Spock. Did he look a little young? Yeah, but this was supposed to be young Spock, right? Like this was supposed to be them kind of fresh out of the academy. Not Spock so much because he had already graduated, but the rest of them, right? Like he's, I think, a lieutenant in this, or maybe just not even, I think he's a lieutenant, not a commander. Yeah. I could be wrong. I don't know. I don't remember. By the end of the movie, he's a commander. Anyway, I love those lines.
I think one more scene to add to that list would be when Spock meets old Spock.
Yeah, I like that one.
Them playing off each other, it was that eeriness of them being really close to each other and just being sort of exactly the same, but just like a younger and an older version. That deep fake that you posted like many moons ago is really creepy because it was too close.
Too close.
That felt a bit like a passing of the torch moment. I remember originally seeing it in theaters because you're just like, oh, that's literally him handing over like you are now the current Spock.
Yeah.
But I was going to say, Zachary Quinto also, I know we don't like Into Darkness as much as everything else, but since you mentioned the Sherlock Holmes thing, Into Darkness is basically just the Game of Shadows. Like Sherlock Holmes' Game of Shadows, the Star Trek Game of Shadows. That's what that one was. All the plot and intrigue and darkness. But Wrath of Khan, which Into Darkness was like an alternate version of, is a really good movie. And I know we haven't gotten to Nimoy yet, but the way that they do Into Darkness and do some of the parallels and alternate versions of the same events or the same characters, I feel like Zachary Quinto handled his Spock well with those changes, like how he would react to the different circumstances. Because we know Spock doesn't give his life to save everybody in that version. Kirk does that instead, but they still have that, moment with a little salute through the glass.
I'm not going to lie. I actually thought that Spock didn't have as much to do in Into Darkness as I would have liked. Like it was so focused on Kirk and him like getting revenge for Pike and Scotty leaving and
it's all over the place.
It is, right? That's typical JJ sequel. Having said that, like he's really good in Beyond, and what I really like in Beyond is that like when they're on is it the Yorktown, the name of the station? I think it is.
I think so.
When they're on Yorktown Station and the two Vulcans come up to him and they give him Spock's, I guess, belongings, because this is how they showed that Leonard Nimoy died, by having Prime Spock die. And it was just this great moment where Quinto's reflecting and looking at the picture of them all together from Undiscovered Country right before the Enterprise A is about to be decommissioned. And it's such a great moment because like he knows that this isn't going to be his fate, right? Because this is a different version now. But it's a great moment where he's still kind of dealing with his mortality. I thought that was one of the better parts of that film.
I was just thinking when you mentioned Yorktown, the Battle of Yorktown, stardate 1781. Like this weird
Gotta
Hamilton
get your
mashup.
right-hand man back. I gotta get your right-hand man back. Sorry.
It was just funny because you said Yorktown, and I immediately was like 1781. I hate what it's done to my brain.
And in I think Star Trek 4, there's a ship that's called Yorktown, and I thought the exact same thing when I was watching it today. I was like, yeah, Hamilton.
The search for
Hamilton
Spock?
has ruined everything.
You mean made
Hey,
better? Made better.
At least in that movie, they were searching for Spock and not for space whales.
No, 4 is the whales.
4 is Wales, 3 is
shit.
Spock.
Or is
Never
Wales.
mind, I'm thinking of the wrong. There's so many Star Trek movies.
4 is a good one.
Whatever.
3 is not bad.
Speaking of Star Trek films. Wait, I can't.
We broke her.
I had a segue, but Hawk, do you have any final thoughts on Quinto?
Quinto in Into Darkness. I'm going to put this on the writing and the directing, and that they just took him in a really bad direction. It's like Julian said, there wasn't a lot for him to do in that. His impact on the film isn't great, and just having him kind of go full out like raw human in that emotion with the death of Kirk, just shouting out "Khan." I think that was the point in that movie that broke me in the theater, and I was like, I'm done.
He didn't even get that way when his mother died, right? He just sort of got one reserved. But when Kirk died in front of him...
To be fair, he beat the shit out of Kirk and ejected him, which was against Starfleet regulations.
Yeah, because Kirk made him angry.
But he didn't break down right then and there. No!
That took a lot.
It was the calm before the storm. But I think we can all agree.
That was wonderful.
Get off my bridge.
That's what he said to Kirk. But I guess we can all agree that as much as we love Zachary Quinto, he's not quintessential as quintessential to the role of Spock as the most, the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Leonard Nimoy himself. So you can't have Spock without him, and people in our mailbox definitely made sure we knew that.
That's a fact.
That's a fact. And even though there's 2 new actors that have taken on the role, it sometimes is still hard to imagine anybody else playing him because as much as a lot of people love the newer actors, this was just like, it's not Nimoy though. So I want to know, what made Nimoy the perfect fit in your opinion, if you believe that? What's everybody's favorite Spock moment? And how did the character impact you in any iteration of Trek?
I'll just start by saying that the impact that Nimoy and the original series crew had on me growing up was, I not to get too deep and morbid here, but just kind of a big reason why I'm here today. Trek got me through a lot of dark times as a kid. I had some really screwed up family stuff growing up, and so many people talk about Star Trek being kind of a beacon of hope, and it really was for me. And before my mom passed, we watched TNG, and after she passed, I got to know TOS through my dad, and Kirk and Spock, and I actually got to know them through the films before I got to know them through the original series. So the films have like a really special place in my heart, especially Star Trek 6, because it's the first Star Trek movie I kind of have like a memory of watching, like just over and over and over. So, I guess that'll go, I guess, to being my favorite Spock moment is just Spock in Star Trek 6. Because this is like when they're on their way out, right? Like they're going to retire. There's that whole great exchange between Kirk and Spock aboard the Enterprise about like, have we grown so old? I forget how the rest of the line goes, but they're just talking about like how they've maybe become like shells of the people they used to be. It's just such a great film. And I don't know, Spock is just so instrumental throughout that whole film, going back to that Arthur Conan Doyle, Sherlock Holmes line that he recites, putting Kirk in the position to try and negotiate this basically peace between the Klingons and the Federation after it's the Klingons who killed David, his son. That's my favorite Spock moment in Star Trek 6. The entire film, and they're kind of the culmination of the Spock-Kirk relationship.
Yeah, there's something about 6 that's just very I don't know. It seems like the quintessential Spock because it's the end of his story. Like you were saying, it feels like the end of all of theirs, but it's his most fully realized because he's not trying to struggle with his human side and his Spock and his Vulcan side. He's sort of like that complete package where he has the full logic, but he uses his emotions at the right times. It's such a good movie. Like that is probably one of the best Star Trek movies in my opinion.
It's still my favorite Star Trek movie.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
If I'm remembering correctly, this is the Star Trek movie with them in the woods singing "Row, row, row your boat."
No.
Wait,
No, that's Star Trek 5,
That's
the
5,
worst Star
man.
Trek movie of all time.
I don't think
Right.
I've seen 5 or 6. I
6
feel
is
horrible.
the Kittimer Accord.
Yeah, that's when Praxis explodes and they're basically
Yeah,
like
it's the undiscovered country. And
Yeah.
that. I was just trying to remember
so.
if that scene was in 6 or 5 and that because I don't know. There was some towards the end of their run in those movies and that it always kind of felt like the next one was going to be the last one for them and that. But for some reason, that moment always kind of stood out in my mind.
I think
what the row 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 your boat.
Yeah, because it's
Yeah.
horrible.
Some people hate that and some people absolutely love it.
It's
It's
a
funny.
very fun bonding moment, but I think the good thing about 6 is that it was written by Nimoy, so I think
Yes.
he understood all the characters perfectly at that point, like where they were at that part of their journey.
Where they were going, where no one had gone before.
Exactly. But I don't know. It just seems like the perfect way to send out that crew, and then we just forget about Generations, and it's fine.
Yeah. I also just getting a little bit off topic from Spock. I just loved that the movie opens up with like a pretty major, I guess, political and human situation, right? Like the head of Starfleet, like Commander Starfleet at the beginning when they're in the press conference is like, to put it bluntly, the Klingons have less than 20 years of life left before they go extinct because of Praxis exploding. And it's just like, oh shit, this is the real deal. Something needs to be done, and it's an incredible film. I think it's very underrated in my opinion.
We should do an episode about it.
We should. We could do a
Yeah.
bonus
Yeah, we need
episode
to
about
because
it.
I need to watch it.
You do. It's so good. It's such a good film.
Yeah, well, there's so
and I'm-
much Trek I haven't absorbed yet. I've been going at a very fast pace, but like, I need more time.
That's fair.
Time is a luxury you
don't
wait,
have,
wait.
Axel.
I have it.
It's
I
a
have it.
political drama. It's a murder mystery. It's got a lot of great parts working for it.
I think
Here we
you
go.
found it.
I did.
Time is a luxury you don't have.
I love that part too of the
It's
movie.
so good.
Like Wrath of Khan is so good, but that scene also where Kirk's just like 60 seconds, give me more time, and he's just like, bitch.
Going back to 6, because I'm gonna just keep talking about 6, is that where we see Spock at that point and how he's fighting for the Klingons, you can totally see how he evolves to where he is in Unification and TNG.
Yes.
Where he's fighting for the Romulans and to bring his people together. And there's this whole, it's weird to say humanitarian version of Spock, but that's sort of, I guess that's what he is at that point. He's trying to
That's his most
help
human
people, right?
form.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He's humanitarian.
though, right?
I'm so human, I'm a humanitarian. I'm not volcanitarian.
It's so weird to think of it. Like, what term would they be at that? I'm gonna go with humanitarian. That's his final form.
You gotta wonder too, right, Erik, to go deeper into that. If at that point, because I think they're on a little bit better speaking terms, because basically a few years after he's been brought back from the dead, I think Sarek at that point in Star Trek 6 has been grooming Spock to eventually take his place as ambassador to the Federation.
Yeah, I would agree
So heading up the basically a Klingon refugee crisis would be kind of like a perfect segue into that position for Spock.
For sure. And the fact that Picard takes over after that, I think that's just like a
Yes.
great,
Yeah.
like passing the torch just keeps going.
Yeah.
I mean, because Sarek and Picard were so close. Yeah.
I'm trying to think of my favorite Spock moment.
It's hard. There's so
It's
many.
so hard. There are so many
know.
good ones. But I will say that I don't know if you could ever take Nimoy out, like separate him from the character, because he basically was the character. Like he helped make Spock. That's just a fact. Like he
Yeah.
is half of Spock. You won't be able to
That's
take
He wrote a
That's
book,
the
I think,
curse.
called I Am Spock.
Yeah, he
After he
literally
wrote
is, right?
I'm Not Spock.
Yes.
Yeah. And then he's like, wait,
That was,
I am.
That's also the curse of the role.
Yeah.
Because when you think about it, besides Gene Roddenberry, it's like he was like the first kind of connection to Star Trek and that, like all the way back to the Cage, and they actually carried him over in that when they recast everything.
Yeah.
Which-
Like we said in the beginning of the episode, people know Spock and they know Leonard Nimoy regardless of if they've ever actually really watched Star Trek. And I think anybody our ages or older, especially, before the newer films and shows have happened, like Leonard Nimoy is who you know as Spock. Like it's so ingrained into you that, even though I didn't watch all of Star Trek growing up, like even what I saw of Star Trek was Nimoy was Spock. And even when, like, right before he died and he, like, knew he was passing away, I remember he told fans out there, like, hey, I will be your honorary grandpa. Like, just letting anybody out there know, if you need me to be that before I pass away, I'm granting you that. So, like, I have complicated relationships with my grandpas. So, I don't necessarily think they're the best of people. So for me, like, I didn't really have grandpas I was super connected to growing up. So, like, him and Stanley basically became my honorary grandpas. So, like, I love Nimoy. I love seeing him. Like, it's kind of weird that he's dead, if that makes any sense. But, like, what he brought to the role, I think, can't be taken away. And that's a good thing, I think.
Yeah, there's a documentary about him on Netflix right now. And it's just wonderful hearing how, even though he revolted against being known as that role, there was, for a time, and that's why that first book came out, him coming to terms about how much good he did in that role for people and how he influenced so many generations of engineers, astronauts, and all these scientists. And it's incredible to think of how many people around the world have been affected by him in that role. I remember when he died, and all across Canada, all our $5 bills started turning into Spocks.
Yeah.
Which was
I remember
amazing. I'm not going to say that I have one, but I definitely have one sitting around here. But yeah, it's just, it's hard. I don't think you can take away Nimoy from that role. And I can't honestly think of any other role that Nimoy played actually right now.
I mean, he Spocked our world. And in a way, you could probably change pop culture to Spock culture.
Yes.
That's how big of an effect he had.
Cool Leonard Nimoy fact. He did the voiceover for the Boston Science Museum IMAX. It would they did like a flyover of Boston, and it was just all about the city and its culture and everything. And he did the voiceover for that. He was also in Fringe. And
yes.
He was so good
that
in
role
Fringe.
was so good in Fringe.
I forgot
good
about
in
that,
Fringe.
damn.
William
Yes.
Bell. Oh.
And William Bell. And then finally, he was also, unfortunately, in Transformers Dark of the Moon.
I never saw that one.
And played...
Unicron?
He played the other Prime. And he actually turns on Optimus. He's a bad guy. Yeah. I have to humble brag here real quick
Rodimus Prime?
because I don't
No,
remember.
I haven't
Prime
seen
was
that
good.
movie, but
He
I
was
saw the
Sentinel
original.
Prime.
Yeah, Sentinel
That's
Prime. I have
is
to
that?
show this.
Oh no, what is that?
Can people see?
Is it you with them?
It is.
You should just send that to us.
Yeah. I'll
Are
send
you
it in the
wearing your
chat.
ball-bearing necklace?
No, this wasn't too long ago. This was in I think 2009. At Dragon Con.
Oh my god,
Yeah.
so the
I
year
love
that Star
Dragon
Trek
Con.
09 came out.
It was either 2009 or 2010.
That's awesome.
I was at Dragon Con around that time. We could have crossed
met.
paths. Weird.
We could have.
That's weird.
It won't let me message it for some reason. I'm just gonna resave it and send it that way.
Yeah,
But
send it later.
Hawk, did we get a favorite Spock moment from you?
Not yet.
So hard.
He's still thinking about it.
I'm having trouble.
What
I
you
know, I'm
picked,
still having
guys?
trouble.
My favorite Spock moment is anytime he's sassy Spock. Like normally he's very calm, mild-mannered Spock, but like when he sasses Kirk, regardless of the version, I'm just like, this is my Spock. He needs to be a sassy bitch. Like, you need to throw shade, and you're the best.
That's so funny.
At the end of 6, when he's like, I think the English term would be to hell with that. And I'm like, yeah.
Oh, he goes, I believe if I were human,
I would say, yeah, that's
say, go to hell.
Yeah.
If I were
love it.
human. Yeah.
I love him.
Everything about him in Star Trek 6 is just amazing.
Favorite Spock moment in that, probably one of the one I kind of connected with most, in growing up watching TNG, and that was in the unification episode, and that, and mostly the talks between him and Picard. I always thought they were spot on, great,
Wonderful.
Especially in the moment in that I think there was that line where he, reflecting back on Sarek, he said, "It's that all they really had left between them were their arguments."
Yeah, that's deep stuff. That's human stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, the look he gives when he does the mind meld with Picard at the end is so good.
Yeah. Oh,
Nimoy. Oh, just that little bit of I guess that
joy.
human joy that comes in.
Yeah.
Because he's living through what his father thought of him.
I also love his interaction with Data in that episode.
I love
when he's
that.
Let's see when we can figure this out.
well, just also the fact that Data is kind of like Spock. He's logical, and he has that great line to Spock where he's like, "You've basically thrown away everything that I'm striving to be."
Yeah.
And Spock says before that, like, "You are what most Vulcans spend their whole lives trying to become, like pure logic, void of all emotion." I thought that was a great scene. Mm-hmm. The last thing I'll say was just, it was an absolute pleasure today, just watching through the films again, and these films that were just such a major part of my childhood, like Wrath of Khan and Search for Spock. I love okay, sorry, this is not Nimoy or Spock related, but I have a big transgression with Search for Spock, and that is the fact that the Excelsior was transwarp drive ready. Okay, transwarp drive is a big deal. They have not gotten transwarp drive since. Okay, like they had to steal Borg tech to try and even get transwarp drive. Yet the Excelsior was ready for transwarp and transwarp trials, and all Scotty had to do to disable its transwarp and bring the Federation back hundreds of years on studying it was take some chips from its computer core and hand them to Bones. I'm like, that's it? And now Starfleet doesn't have transwarp drive for hundreds of years? Really?
They don't have the
Sorry.
chips. I don't know.
Dude, I don't know. Oh,
maybe they didn't have the cloud yet?
Yeah, right? Like you didn't have that shit uploaded or backed up?
Chips in, the sky's the limit.
Sorry, that's has nothing to do with Spock, but it is a Search for Spock transgression.
It's Julian's search for answers. Because for some reason you think there's continuity in this series.
It's my search for transwarp drive.
Yeah.
I will say that Star Trek 4, Journey Home or Voyage Home. What's it? Wait.
Voyage. You got it. Voyage
Home is directed by Leonard Nimoy and has probably the funniest Spock moments in all of Star Trek. And it's super kid friendly. I watched it with my 5-year-old today, and she loved it. She thought it was so funny. And I never knew because she hasn't really watched Star Trek with me. She watched a couple of the TOS episodes and a couple of TNG ones, but that was her first Star Trek movie, and she thought it was great. She thought it was funny. Plus, she likes whales, so you know.
Space whales will get anybody interested in Star Trek.
It's true.
Facts.
Screw you. Well, double screw you.
Well, if that's it for everybody.
Wait, hold on.
I just want to make sure I knew it. Get in there.
Admiral, there be whales here. The best line from the movie. Oh, and computer. Hello, computer. Just use the keyboard.
Jesus Christ.
Or when Bones is when they're
and he goes, how quaint.
Or when they're doing surgery and Bones is like, what are you guys? What was it? Savages? When they're trying to cut it. Like,
oh yeah,
good.
There was the lady on the gurney and that undergoing dialysis. He said, "What is this? The Inquisition?"
Yes, right. It's the Inquisition.
Might as well leech her to death.
Oh my God, yeah.
How about the scene? The scene on the bus with Spock and the guy with the
punk rocker.
Yeah. Neck pinch.
Oh man, this is
I
now.
I actually have a great search for Spock. I mean, Voyage Home meme to send to you guys.
This is now the Voyage Home episode.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, guys, I saved so many Spock memes in preparation for this that I'm going to post on the page.
Yes.
One of them is Spock playing a guitar, and it says, "Here I am, Spock you like a hurricane." But today I did, what is it, vinyl? Or
Yeah, the vinyl.
Vinyl, yeah.
Space, the vinyl frontier. And he's like, fucking
Beep, beep,
DJing.
beep, beep.
Jim, climb the steps of Mount Saleh,
Jim. It's only logical.
Oh my.
Anyway, remix. Is that everybody's favorite Spock moments?
Yeah.
Nice.
Affirmative, Captain.
I think it's I think it's fair to say that, no matter the iteration or who played Spock across the board, and definitely Nimoy for sure, has impacted a ton of people. Anybody who's watched Star Trek has some soft spot for Spock.
Star Trek and just pop culture in general, right? Like you said it earlier, Brittany, like even if you've never watched Star Trek, you know who Mr. Spock is.
Live long and prosper, right?
A lot of people at least know this. They'll go by a convention, and if they see like Star Trek cosplayers, they'll be like, "Oh."
I have to do one more moment. I'm so sorry.
Oh, no,
Ninja
go
Turtle.
ahead.
It's from because that reminded me.
You're just being me. I interrupt you guys all
I
the time.
am all
So
the
there you
time.
go.
At the very beginning of Unification Part 1, when Sarek is dying, and Sarek's going live long, and he can't do the salute, and Jean-Luc helps his fingers get in the right position. I started tearing up. I was like, oh my God. I just can't. It was such a beautiful moment, and just like and it shows, right, like the struggle that Spock had with Sarek, and the fact that Spock even says it at the end of that episode that Picard was maybe closer with Sarek than Sarek ever was with Spock.
That's some deep shit.
It's some really deep shit.
Some tidbits about Unification is that Leonard Nimoy wasn't originally going to go on that episode, which would have been weird. He wanted a lot of money to reprise his role as Spock, but because he was an executive producer on Star Trek 6 and it was released around the same time, he did it for just regular pay, like
Scale.
Regular actor pay.
For scale. Yeah, that's it. Scale, just so that he could promote
Star Trek 6.
Yeah, Star Trek 6.
So every time the camera panned over, he was like, like instead of this, he was like, 6.
He just kept on referencing the Kittimer Accord the whole time.
Yeah.
I had something funny I was going to say before that, but I don't remember. Since you said that he was originally considering not being in it, I was going to say, was that in his artist formerly known as Spock phase?
No, that was after.
I'm the actor formerly known as Spock. Just kidding. I am now currently known as Spock. I love it. Well, our hearts are full of love for Spock, of course. But you know what's even more full? Our goddamn mailbag. And that's amazing.
Calling frequencies are open.
So it's time for everybody's favorite moment, because you're probably tired of hearing us just ramble on forever. Just kidding. You could hear us ramble on for years.
Yeah.
Light years. Maybe. I don't know. Jesus. Okay. I don't know why you guys let me host, but I'm going to go through our mailbag. We're going to try and shoot through this. There's so much to cover. So we'll try to focus on what we can, answer whatever questions we can. We feel super famous, like celebrities right now, because there's just so much mail.
I think it shows how much love for Spock there is out there, right?
It's true. It's really just
Hawk, you
Spock.
called it last week, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Next week it'll be like, we're going to talk about Brittany, and the mailbox will be empty.
It'll just be puns and memes.
Yeah. They'll be like, I hate her.
Lies.
So yeah, I'll just delegate as we go through. I'll read off the first one because why not? So, or actually, you know what, Julian, you made a connection with this person.
Okay.
So I'll let you do it. You earned it.
So Robbie won. Robbie's from Scotland. He's one of our new listeners, and that's super exciting. So thanks for listening, Robbie. And this is, like I said, from Robbie Duffield in Scotland. My favorite Spock is Ethan Peck's Spock. I think that he is the most interesting of them all because he is the Spock we know and love before TOS, and he has a great portrayal of a Vulcan. He also isn't as in control of his emotions, it seems, from comments in Discovery like, I like science. However, I may be wrong. I like that because it shows character development into TOS, which is what kind of we talked about, right?
Yeah.
Like Spock. Yeah. I must say that my least favorite Spock is Zachary Quinto's version. I don't know why, because he also had a good portrayal of a Vulcan. However, I'm more fond of TOS Spock. R.I.P. Rest in peace, Leonard Nimoy. Live long and prosper.
LLAP Nimoy. No
Yeah.
R.I.P. on this show.
I will say, like, yeah, we said at the beginning of the show, like Ethan Peck's take is just so damn good and such a tribute to what Nimoy did with the character. I think Quinto did try to kind of do his own thing with it, whereas that Peck is trying to really embody Nimoy to the fullest. So Robbie, I agree with everything you said, man.
Yeah, go Robbie.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm going to read the next one because I talk really freaking fast and it's a lot. So I'm going to cover it in the amount of time that you guys would in 2 minutes. So,
Wow.
I'm not
throwing
throwing
some
shade.
shade.
I'm being polite
That-
because I'm super ADHD. And
I don't know. That seemed like a little shade.
I had.
Shade.
I was trying to help. Fine, somebody else can write it.
No, I'm just joking. Go for it.
Okay.
Go for
Also, they have a French-ish name. So,
Yes, the
returning-
Canadians wouldn't know how to do that at all.
No.
Now I'm throwing shit at you.
Oh my God, wait.
Oh my God! Obviously, you would.
Get your shit together.
You know what? Just for this, Eric's reading it. So there you go.
Oh, I love it.
A returning listener, our friend Cam A.K.A. SS Madame Pompadour, also emailing us from the UK. It's SS Madame Pompadour again. Thanks for the shout out reading my ramblings on the podcast. Appreciate the love for my Doctor Who inspired Reddit name. Yeah. Just quickly, I think everyone in the world, am hugely man crushing on Anson Mount right now. I wanted to say
man.
and wanted to say thanks for the brilliant recommendation of Hell on Wheels. Utterly brilliant show that I've already nearly finished. Damn. When it comes to Spocks, I think topping Leonard Nimoy is just illogical. Boom. But I have to say that I think Zachary Quinto was brilliant for the Kelvin timeline, showing us a fundamentally different take on the character. Initially, I didn't like Ethan Peck's take, but I was completely on board the moment we had the scene saying, "Goodbye, Spock." Goodbye, Spock?
Say goodbye,
Say
Spock.
goodbye.
Say goodbye,
Spock.
Spock. Goodbye,
Goodbye, Spock.
Spock. That was delivered brilliantly. Wow. Brittany, you should have read this.
Yeah, you're
Love
welcome.
the Pike. Love the Pike episode of the pod, by the way. Must say, I think you missed two things I love that I can't go unmentioned. The first was Greenwood's line, "Your father was captain of a starship for 12 minutes. He saved 800 lives, including your mother's and yours. I dare you to do better." I thought we talked about that.
So
You've
I
used it
actually
before.
I emailed Cam and replied and had a chat with him about this. We did it as like the stinger to our like preview of the next episode where we talked about this. We didn't play it in the actual Pike episode. So before you finish, Erik, because I know Cam really wants to hear it again, I have it on here and I'm gonna play it real quick.
Your father was captain of a starship for 12 minutes. He saved 800 lives, including yours. I dare you to do better.
Ooh, goosebumps.
Yeah, chills every time.
Yeah, that's a good. Remember when they used that in the
His
trailer?
voice. Oh, yeah.
Yes.
That made the trailer amazing. I was like, I gotta see this now.
Bruce Greenwood's voice is so deep, I never thought about it. Anyway,
Talking about man crushing.
I'm rubbing my arm because of the goosebumps. Anyway, which gives me chills every time I hear it, obviously. The second is from the episode of Discovery where they go back to Talos 4,
Nice.
if memory serves. Coming out of the recap, they smash cut between Jeffrey Hunter's face to Anson Mount's, and Jesus Christ, that was spooky how alike they looked in that moment. It utterly sold me on them being the same character just a few years later. Loving the pod, stay safe, keep up the great work, and live long and prosper.
Yay!
I did all right.
Yay.
Yeah, that's pretty
You
good.
did fine.
You made it.
To quote that Superman movie that came out, Man of Steel, "You may stumble, you may fall, but one day they'll join you in the sun."
I just want to say real quick to kind of reply to Cam here. That sequence where they do kind of like cut their face together, or it's like a fade out, fade in type of thing, was pretty freaking brilliant.
Yeah, it was better
Yeah,
than
and
Animorphs. Have you ever seen the cover of one of them books?
Oh my god.
A loop for a future episode is going to be like, what two characters would you love to see on an Animorph cover? You can't pick two Vicks. It's bad when I crack myself up. Oh, shit. Oh, God, we're moving on to Reddit, guys.
This is courtesy of, and I'm going to give them a shout out,
Yep.
the growing Strange New Worlds subreddit. So check them out if you haven't yet.
We love you. Like, subscribe. Just kidding.
I'm still crying from the last thing. Oh my god.
So, Hawk, we're going to go back and forth on these. So I'll do one, you do the next one, I'll do one. We'll catch up with those guys.
All right, cool.
So, Sergeant Fred Colon? Or Colon?
Colon.
We'll see. Or is it Sir Grant? I thought it was Sergeant.
Move along. Move along.
Okay. Erik got me all hyper. OG Spock is the best. Quinto just always seems angry rather than the Vulcan, quote, emotionless. I haven't thought of Peck. Oh, sorry. I haven't enough of Peck to decide yet, but it's a good start so far. And you know what? We agree. We kind of talked about that. Emotion was very high with Quinto.
I think more writing and directing sabotaged him. I still like his 2009 version. So
I like the eyebrow raises for that.
Yes.
He gets a round of eyebrow applause. Ready? Wait.
I can't do it.
Wave.
I can't do it.
I did the wave.
No, I can't do
There you
it. I can only do both eyebrows.
I can only do
I
one.
trained myself in the mirror because I loved The Rock as a kid.
Yeah.
And that's the only
If
reason
you
I developed
smell-
muscles. Okay. Hawk, it's your turn.
So, Ned Schimmelfinney replying to Fred, this view of Quinto's performance really came into focus for me after rewatching the original series. I recently watched the Kelvin Timeline movies again after having binge watched TOS, and there were so many instances where Quinto's Spock seemed testy, wherein the OG Spock would have barely raised an eyebrow.
No pun intended.
I didn't hate Quinto's interpretation by any means, but I don't feel like it matched the OG Spock.
Okay, Werang. I picked all the weird names. If you're out there, Werang. They think the Kelvin Timeline Spock embraces his human side more after struggling with it earlier than the Prime Spock. He's plenty detached under certain circumstances, but the portrayal is more about suppressing emotion than displaying an absence of it.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah.
Intrigue.
Yeah.
We're getting some heated discourse in the Reddit. Weirdly, I was not into bearded Spock at first. Oh, rude. That's okay. But the version from Peck really did ease me into his take on the character. He's doing much more of a Nimoy impression than Quinto was, which makes sense, but I expect that to soften as he takes more ownership of the character over time, and fans adjust to him properly. There's no beating Nimoy, though. The character is his co-creation. He can't be topped.
Yeah, I just want to touch on that real quick, right? Because talking about like Peck softening up and like kind of like making the character his own as Strange New Worlds carries on, I think that's really important because as much as, you know, he is the prime Nimoy Spock, he still needs to be able to make the character his own because just doing a Nimoy for 5-7 seasons isn't going to cut it. Luckily, I think he's already done that. Like, I think he's done that in his portrayal in Discovery. I think he did it in that awesome Q&A short trek. I think he's going to do just fine.
See, most people like hard pecs, but you know, some of us out there, we like soft pecs. So to each their own.
I hate you.
You said peck so much that I was just like, where's the Rock? Being like, doop, 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 doop.
Or John Cena with a hefty.
Yeah. Bring it home, Hawk.
Frederico 987. Nimoy made the character all by himself and was good enough to change it when time passed for him, the franchise, and in universe. Quinto and Peck are wonderful actors and have an uncanny resemblance to Nimoy. What makes their portrayals even better? I think that's supposed to be which.
Yeah.
Kelvin Spock was a little too angry for my taste, but a perfect execution. Disco Spock seems to be in a very different place than TOS Spock, still learning what his path in life is. I expect his character to shine in SNW.
Yeah.
I agree.
Every time someone says Disco Spock, I'm like going to town.
We got to find a Disco Spock,
Spock.
like,
Yeah, like
gif or something.
just like Spock's head, but it's shining and like spinning around. With like the sunglasses, you got like the Ray-Bans on. Oh shit. Next one, Kinsey 6, which I hope. Wait, isn't that the character from Lock and Key? Kinsey, right?
Kinsey, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I wonder if that's a reference. Kinsey 6.
Let us know, Kinsey 6.
It's probably like the Kinsey scale or something. There's only one Spock. and then there's 2 other actors portraying him. Damn.
That's laying down the line
Kinsey.
right there.
Kinsey said, "This is the line, and you will stop here and go
The
no
line
further.
must be drawn here.
No further." And we respect that.
Act surprised. Why did they do Peck's sideburns like that? Spock and all Vulcans have such an iconic hairstyle. Seems weird to change it, especially since he's supposed to be a younger version of Spock Prime.
I think
Hey.
because he had a beard, did he not? So that's why he had
Interesting. At the end of Discovery Season 2, his sideburns are a little bit more like square, but they quickly fix that in Q&A and make them pointed. So I think they realized they made a continuity error, and very quickly, even though it's before Disco Season 2, they made them the pointed. So I don't know, hair and makeup error.
It's just
Maybe
the
we'll
awkward,
chalk it down to
it's
that.
the awkward hair stage, like when you're growing your hair out and it doesn't look quite right.
Well, he also had just cut all his
He
hair
just
off
cut it
too,
all
right?
off, right? He didn't have he didn't have time to go to the barber on the Enterprise.
The
to get
Vulcan
that.
barber who can only do the points a certain way.
Got to go back to Vulcan, not to search for a mate. Got to get these lines looking sharp. I see your point.
And no pon far today.
Yeah, right? Oh, remember when we were watching that episode Amok Time, and I said, "Oh, so you mean Spock upon Far From Home?"
And we just got
Like,
dirtier and dirtier.
oh, it got really
dirtier. It
So
got
if
bad.
anybody wants to know how many different sex-related puns you can make about Star Trek, you only have to look at our group chat for like we went on.
I'm half tempted to say like the best one I came up with, but I think it's also the dirtiest. So I think I'll just
Yeah. Oh, the one that made me say Jesus Christ.
yes, that one.
Oh
God.
yes.
I'm just gonna say it, and if we lose listeners, I don't care. I don't think we will. Maybe we'll gain some. It was hashtag tribbing for tribbles. I mean,
And that was after we said like, I can't even remember. Like we were like just saying
what
stupid
was-
shit like hashtag Gorn porn, Deep Space, Deep Space
One of
69.
one of yours was the best though, Brittany. More lube in the cube.
Oh yeah, no, because I asked the question. I said if a member of the Borg has sex, I was like, and they orgasm, is it a Borgasm? Because it's like the whole hive mind. Do they have that? And then you said something about like, oh, that's so weird. It would be the whole cube having an orgy. And I said hashtag more lube for the cube. I'm gonna
I'm sad I
apologize.
missed this.
I hope we don't have any children listening. If so, don't Google any of what I said.
I'm pretty sure that we mark our episodes as explicit.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
thank God.
I think we're okay. I think we have that red E.
Okay. I'll get this one. So, ranting at home, which is something I do quite often.
No.
You can tell Julian's known me for over a year because he's just like, Brittany, ranting?
And we've become like besties really quick.
Yeah, it's true. Few people would go over to your house at 11 p.m. to watch the finale of a show together.
Hashtag watch Snowpiercer. Sorry.
Okay.
Something in my
Ranting at
throat.
Home said, Nimoy originated the character, so obviously he's fantastic. Although I have to admit he fell off in the Kelvin movies. Felt off. Sorry, he didn't fall. That's what his mom did. His mom fell off. Yo, I'm
Red alert! All hands to battle stations.
getting real hot in my home studio. I'm starting to smell like burnt tits.
Getting hot in the holodeck.
I just keep thinking about Winona Ryder's death. Sorry. Although I have to admit he felt off in the Kelvin movies, which we agree a little bit because life happens. I like Quinto in the part. Any problems may have been the writing of the character, which we also kind of agree with. Finally, with Peck, like another poster, hard to say, but he has potential. That's what people say about me. On the subject of actors taking over Trek characters, if you want to talk about nailing it, Carl Urban was freaking fantastic as Bones. Yes. We will all agree.
You were saying it off mic, Erik.
Yeah.
He is really good. Like, you could tell he put a lot into trying to match that. And he did such a good job that Nimoy actually got a little, choked
Verklempt?
up. Yeah, verklempt. Thinking of the passing of his friend. So, he got the essence of Dr. McCoy immediately without doing a lame impression of DeForest Kelley. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
You were talking about that off mic, Eric, and it reminded me of probably my favorite scene from Star Trek Beyond, because it absolutely mirrors a scene from Wrath of Khan when it's Kirk's birthday and Kirk and Bones are in the, I think either Kirk's quarters or in the bar.
Yeah, Kirk's quarters.
I think he pulls out a bottle of Saurian brandy, and they're having the same conversation that Bones and Kirk had in his apartment about growing old. Mm-hmm. This one was about like being out in space and fulfilling his father's legacy, but it was the same exact scene, and it just was like,
yeah,
DeForest Kelley all over. Oh,
yeah.
Oh.
When he says that he steals the alcohol from Chekhov, and they're both
quarters.
like, I thought he'd like vodka. Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
So we could say that Carl Urban wasn't the farthest from Kelly. DeForest?
Shut up, Wesley. Shut up, Wesley. Shut up, Wesley. Shut up, Wesley.
I deserved it.
You did.
Yes.
Okay, we're almost done the Reddit, guys, so we just got 3 more, Hawk.
All right.
Then you guys can take over for Insta.
Fist and Telmore, Leonard Nimoy Season 2, Nimoy TWOK.
The Wrath of Khan.
Oh, do you remember when The Weeknd did that song, Starboy, and he says, Star Trek 2, but he says Wraith of Khan? Huh. That annoys me. Every time I hear that song, I was like, it's Wrath of Khan, and you know it. If you brought it up in the song, it means you like it too.
It's not his fault. He's a Canadian.
I'm a star boy. I was editing that for our listeners, so I'm not a bad person. Okay, Always By. Is it Always By? Okay.
Yeah, it's yep.
Well, I was just making sure. I didn't know if it was like BL, and I just read it wrong because, I don't know. I have to say that Quinto, I have to say Quinto because I grew up with him.
Oh, I feel old.
That's valid.
Yeah, right. I feel old.
Well, what if they're like someone, I'm going to age myself, around my age who for some weird reason maybe never saw TNG or the original series or anything fun on TV?
Well, there was a long period of time where they didn't have Star Trek, right?
Yeah. Well.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was the 2000s.
Yeah,
it was the dark ages.
So like when youngins like me were in our prime.
BB Mints. Quinto effortlessly becomes Spock, besides classic Spock. The 09 movie is 10 out of 10 and everything, but his Spock is like 11 out of 10. Incredible achievement. Fingers crossed for movie 4.
I think we all want movie 4, right?
Yeah, they need a proper send-off.
They really do. Yeah, for sure.
I like the theory that you guys were talking about before, where we want, because Chekhov, the actor that played Chekhov, passed away. R.I.P. Anton. We were talking about how he should be replaced with, like a Muslim character. Because it would do what the original series did. Like the whole point was to show like, oh, there's a future where, Russians and Americans, they or they're not the enemy. So I feel like we want it to be something.
Don't just kill them off.
Something diverse. Give the character, put a new character in there that shows the same sort of idea.
Make him a captain or something. Move him off.
Yeah.
Don't just check him off real quick, Don't check him off.
Youngest captain in Starfleet history.
I can see that. Because he's supposed to be like a prodigy, right? So why not?
Taking Kirk's place as youngest captain. Yeah.
As long as he doesn't go to Vulcan, sir.
Victor.
Authorization. Victor, Charlie 4.
Vulcan. So it's on to Instagram, and it's going to be Erik and Julian. Do whatever you want for this section. I believe.
Go for it, Julian. You go first.
All right. This is from another new listener, Trekkie #88. Thanks for listening. Yeah, thanks for listening, Trekkie. We like chatting with you on Insta. He says, or she, don't know. Well, with the introduction of Ethan Peck portraying Spock, I would go with him and Nimoy. I mean, yeah, that's fair.
And then Ensign_S Burton says, Nimoy, always.
Our awesome friends over at Logical Coffee said Nimoy, of course. And I mean, it's like on their branding. Yeah. So,
of course. Jim_Kirk1701 wrote,
oh, that's a cool one.
Zachary Quinto.
Nice.
There you go.
Quinto
nice
Central.
and simple. Jesus Christ. I like this Insta username. Her Grace's Library. I love them all. Disco Spock is interesting. Kelvin Spock is sarcastic and awesome, but it's hard to best the original in all ways.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Densip, Ethan, always.
which is interesting, right? Because we've only seen him for like a year, but I like the dedication.
Yeah, exactly.
Geek Loggy,
I think it's
UK.
Logic.
No, there's a Y in the username.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Oh,
Logic.
Logic. Okay. Leonard, but Ethan and Zach are both great too.
Yeah. Frank Ferris. Wait. Frank Ferris added that middle initial in there for emphasis. What? Oh, okay.
Oh, so because he put Ethan Peck's middle initial in there, so I thought that was really funny.
I was like, Frank Ferris added
He's like,
that.
that's a long name.
That's exactly.
Like an Instagram handle is just
Like a Fiona Apple album.
it was the best of times, it was the worst of times. Call me Ishmael.
That's from the Wrath of God.
It is. It is.
So Frank Ferris wrote Ethan G. Peck, definitely.
Not Ethan Peck. Ethan
G.
G.
Peck.
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 And last but certainly not least, Fennec. When I was a kid in the late 60s, I watched Star Trek with my dad. Spock was my favorite character and always will be. I do love the current Spock, Ethan Peck, though. So that's actually pretty great, right? Because this guy's obviously like been with Star Trek since the beginning. So to kind of like do a tip of the cap to Ethan Peck is a big deal because his Spock is definitely, Nimoy through and through.
Yeah.
So
It's nice to hear from the OG fans.
yes,
Yeah.
totally.
Yeah, totally.
I like that we have a mix of like people that are just now getting into Star Trek, people that don't know anything about Star Trek, people that have, been through various generations. It's so cool to see all the different sort of listeners and viewers we have. Like, I get so excited when people comment or they join our Discord and they're like, hey, I don't really know anything about Star Trek, but you guys do watch along, so I'm interested to join. It's just cool.
Yeah.
I love it. So this has been an amazing episode. I think it spocked everybody's socks.
We got there.
Brittany, I'm gonna before you wrap
do
it
your
up
thing.
because I didn't put it in the notes because we're just now kind of talking about it. But before this episode actually debuts, our first bonus episode with our episode 1 Lower Decks review should be up and live right now for you to listen to too. So you can listen to that or you can listen to this first, but that should be up. We'll be So we haven't recorded it yet, but by the time you're listening to this, it will be up. So
That's so exciting.
Have a listen if you're watching Lower Decks. We want to hear your opinion on that.
We hope you have... No.
No, you can't even.
I was going to say, we hope you have high expectations for Lower Decks, but also, I don't know. Hopefully it's good. Julian has low expectations. That's all I know.
I do.
I can't wait to see your
that
mind
clip made
melt.
you laugh. Oh my god.
That clip, the captain's chair clip made me laugh.
So
I like
clean, so clean.
I'm gonna clean you nice and extra. I like that.
Yeah. I feel like it's going to have some moments. We'll see.
As long as it doesn't go towards Rick and Morty, we already have a Rick and Morty.
Yeah.
So
We don't need any more tea of that.
Q, if you're listening,
Save us.
I'm praying to thee.
I hope Q shows up. Oh my god.
That would be fucking awesome.
I actually love Q.
Who doesn't love Q?
I don't know. I feel like some people probably don't.
Wait, Brittany, wait till he shows up in Voyager.
Oh, I know. He tried to fuck Janeway.
Oh, you're there already. Awesome.
I'm way past that, baby. I'm way past it. But when he showed up, I was just like, no way. And then he was like, yes, this is exactly why you think I'm here. And I was just like, then they had the Civil War. Oh, wait. Oh,
Yeah.
I could have used
Yeah.
a Q weapon in the marriage.
Oh, you could have. Yeah. You didn't even. You missed out on your
missed
own loop.
On my own
Loop throw.
My own loop.
Yep.
Anyway,
Wasted on your own Picard.
if you don't want to miss out,
Hawk, holy crap.
Red alert! All hands to battle stations!
I just got sniped by that pun. I felt like I was in the middle of the battle with the Qs. The Q Civil War, and I got shot in the back. Wow.
Okay, I'm gonna quote our favorite chief engineer right now. I love this ship. It's exciting.
It's exciting.
I love our crew. I love our podcast.
So if you don't want to ever miss your shot, not like Hamilton, but like Hawk, you don't want to miss out on these cool giveaways. So here's God damn it.
There's Spock maybe
My
having an
lighting
orgasm.
is too good. We'll say he's Julian.
Man crushing on Anson Mountain.
I was gonna say when he cringes in pain due to lower decks being horrible, but
That's fair too.
anyway, we'll say this is him crushing on Anson Mount when he thinks we're not watching. Preview of the inside, it's super colorful, really awesome. You can't see it, but whatever. And you can get the little Spock doodad. So here's your keyword. For some reason, we didn't really bring her up, but we were so focused on Spock. But in Unification and in Amok Time, we are introduced/reintroduced to T'Pau, who is the head Vulcan in charge.
And the only Vulcan to ever turn down a seat on the Federation Council.
Yeah. So, T'Pau, you're going to email us at astrangenewpod@gmail.com. I'll repeat it again. astrangenewpod@gmail.com. And you will put T'Pau, T''Pau. If you forget the apostrophe, I don't know if we'll take that or not.
We'll allow it. We'll allow it.
But yeah, we love Spock, but she's another Vulcan who you can't.
And make sure it's not T'Pau, because that's a totally different,
totally different character.
Still a sassy Vulcan though.
Sassy Vulcan.
I love sassy Vulcans. So I guess we reached the end of our show, and whether or not you both can't believe it or not, sadly it's over. But we'll live on in your hearts and minds, just as Nimoy/Spock does. I'm Brittany. I've been your host this week. Don't thank me. And these are my co-hosts, Julian, Erik, and Hawk. So for all of us, we say thanks for listening. Thanks for beaming into our podcast today. If you want to keep the hailing frequencies open, you can subscribe on Apple and Google Podcasts, YouTube, and Spotify. Like what you hear? Put in a good word with Starfleet and leave us a 5-star review.